without further ado, let's dive into our actual discussion today. Before we do that, though, we always do a recap. And if you find yourself on just that recap video, because we do cut that out and host it separately, a link to our full discussion will be in the description below. And on that video, it will have timestamps, so you can just skip straight to our discussion.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you would like to take us off, my friend.
Yeah, so recapping episode 2 of the Ravening War. I think it was called Bloody Conflict?
Harvest, I think.
Bloody Harvest. I was gonna say there's bloody something happening
Yeah.
here. It's called Bloody Harvest, and the episode basically picks up. If you remember from the previous episode, we had sort of like a 2-year time jump of Jacques. Sorry, I can't really pronounce words so good.
Jacques Tomate, yeah.
Jacques Tomate, who, if you remember, had sort of laid his claim to the throne as a representative of the Fruiterans. And then it led to all-out war across all the kingdoms. So we've skipped ahead 2 years, and Matt essentially in this first half of the episode is going to kind of go around the table and really ask people like, hey, what have you been doing in these last 2 years? And the person that he begins with is Karna. We find out that Karna is a 16-year-old spy master. I actually didn't realize that she was 14 in the previous episode.
Oh, I didn't either.
But is sort of coming into her own of understanding spy master duties. And one of the things that she has been doing is she's continuing to try to sort of like get involved with Tomate to essentially be not necessarily his right-hand man, but someone that he can count on. So that if he does find his way into the throne, she would, quote, be set up for life. This is going to be an important detail. It's going to come to fruition later in the episode. But separate from that, she's also spreading dissent about Bulbian theology, for lack of a better phrase. Sort of like creating rumblings around this is all the Bulbian church is doing nothing. This is their fault, so on and so forth. And then on the side of just, outside of her day job, she's also romanticizing about a young one, Thane Deli, that she met a couple of years ago, and maybe sending a couple of messages to, keeping up with over time. Speaking of Deli, Deli has his right-hand man, Colin Provolone, and the two of them have continued to operate in the Meatlands. There has been quite a bit of political strife and sort of infighting in the Meatlands, and Deli has sort of taken it upon himself to try to unify the Meatlands. And like I mentioned, has Colin as his right-hand man, although Colin, being from the Dairy Islands, is very much committed to Deli. The Dairy Islands themselves, we find out, have really sort of lost their autonomy, and there's a bit of some tension there as well. This attack from the hopeful king Tomate, actually, we find out is he wasn't expecting this sort of all-out war to happen, and this disorganized claim to the throne has sort of gotten away from him. And part of that has included trying to find political allies. And in one way that he's done that, is gifting the Dairy Islands basically over to the Meatlands. And so Colin is Deli's right-hand man. In fact, Colin gets awarded a title of Scald. It's supposed to be like a name of honor or authority. So it begins to be known as Scald Provolone. And essentially the two of them have, like I mentioned, have been sort of just holding out, waiting for direction. Now they are going to receive some direction. They're at the end of one day, Deli's actually going to find a scroll in his room that is from the FDA, the Fellowship of Destiny's Architects, that basically says, it's time. We need you to come to Kamita, to the spot under the food pyramid, and bring him. And it's in this moment, there's a really funny dialogue around, like, who could him be? And then Zac Oyama's like, do you think I got a scroll too? And Deli's like, it says bring him, so I don't think you got a scroll. But Matt does, probably feeling sorry for Zach, does give him a scroll in his room that's basically like, we already wrote to Delhi to tell him what to do. So just stick with them, you know. And then also with that, well, I guess I don't want to get into details for who they talked to before they leave, because that's your half. But there's also been some communication with Priest Rafanuel, who has sort of been encouraging Delhi, trying to be supportive of Delhi. Rafanuel, by the way, who's been hanging out in Greenhold with Amango and Karna, has also been trying to get his finger on what's sort of happening in the political landscape. People have sort of lost a little bit of faith in Tomate, and more importantly, Rafanuel is not so much openly supporting Amango, but is trying to get a feel for what do people want, what do they care about, and it's kind of this furthering this interesting dynamic between Amango has her two closest allies, who oddly enough aren't super openly supportive of her. One thing that Brennan does is essentially creates even more like political strife around, you guys are really bad at politics and this can't go on. We need someone who can lead us because you guys are really bad at that. Part of this conversation also leads to the continuing realization that Amango's best place forward is going to be at the side of Tomate. Not just for her protecting her own autonomy, her own consolidating her own power, but especially like uniting these kingdoms. It seems like the best play is to try to marry King Tomate, or King, the hopeful King Tomate. And so the plan then becomes to leave Greenhold, especially once they receive a similar scroll, and travel under Bulbian disguise to Kamada, where Amango can meet with Tomate and essentially put out this plan. Tomate, by the way, has been hiding. There's been some fears of assassinations that's put him into hiding. And as they sort of lay out this plan, there's an interesting dialogue between Rafanuel and Karna, where Karna comes to Rafanuel's church and is physically seemingly disgusted to the point of like almost vomiting being in the house of the great bulb. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it. But essentially the two of them decide, you know, if we're going to get on Tomate's good side, we're going to need to offer up a thorn in his side. And Rafanuel chooses, was his name Druden? Knight Druden?
I think it was Sir Drunon.
Drunon. Essentially this swarmy, slimy knight who became popular after a battle, but is absolutely a thorn in Tomate's side, and is really not even so much widely regarded outside of a select group of nobles. And Rafanuel's like, this is the person to offer up to Tomate. There's some really great insight checks back and forth with Karna and Rafanuel. And also there's some funny dialogue around, is Brennan's character included on this call to Kamita, which he claims he's just been grandfathered in. Like, oh, they saw me stumble into this meeting under the food pyramid. They must just have looped me in. But Karna rolls like a 3 on the insight check. And Tom and Go, she's like, yeah, he's good. He's even though she knows he's not, he's like, yeah, he think he's good. Other than that, there is some other business that that Brennan wants to take care of on the way to Kamada, which we'll get to in a little bit. But essentially, he entrusts this knight, Sir Allium Goldring, an onion ring knight, to basically watch after these two characters and protect them and make sure nothing bad happens to them. Am I forgetting anything else before they head out on this journey? Oh, we actually do have Karna go and assassinate this knight, as well as the woman that he's with. And she essentially, in murdering both of them, essentially says, we all become food in the maw of the great hungry one, which seems to be the patron that Karna is following, and possibly is an opposition of the Great Bulb.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about regarding
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Seems to be the reason for her unhappy stomach. But and then also there's this really crazy detail where Karna, in killing the knight, reveals this, I think it was like a patch of like rotten flesh that she like carves away from herself,
Yeah.
and sort of offers up in this sacrifice. Having said that, am I forgetting anything else before they head out?
No, I think that pretty
Okay.
much covers it.
So why don't you take it from there?
Yeah. All right. And quick disclaimer for anyone watching the video, if you noticed me like start freaking out during Blake's recap, something like got in my eye. So just in case anyone was wondering what I was doing, making those faces.
You weren't like, you were like, no, you idiot. Right,
okay, so we pick up cutting back to the Meatlands duo of Deli and Colin, who are preparing for their journey to head to Kamada when Surly approaches them. Now, he is this guard that we saw in the first episode, and it seems to be kind of an important guard, maybe an important figure, not like politically important.
I think he would describe himself as Deli's best friend, actually.
Yeah, perhaps. So he approaches and is like, hey, like, where you guys are packing up? Where y'all going? And Deli says, it's probably best for you not to know. And Surly is kind of, slightly offended by this, like Blake said, they're friends. And Deli picking up on this is like, well, there's some big important people we're going to talk to. And he actually has to roll a deception check and hits a natural 1 on this. And Surly says, yeah, like, I get it. And Deli's like, please keep this between us. Don't tell anybody you saw us leaving. And he's like, yeah, I'll keep it private, but, definitely let me know how it goes when you get back. And there's also just this is a really funny scene. They start talking about sex and
oh my gosh, this is so freaking good.
It was great. But then
I didn't know how it came up either. It was like, and don't forget, it's not this guy's like, it's not as great as people say it is. I didn't even know how this happened, but
yeah, I think it maybe was like they implied at first maybe they were like going to meet up with some girls maybe or something.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it was great. So then we cut back to Bishop and Co, Rafanuel, Karna, and Amango. And they are on their journey. They are passing through Bright Garden. Now, this is where the bishop had some business to take care of on the way. So he stops in and he is basically just alerting a member of his network, Sister Riley Underbake, who is a member of the Cloistered Order. And he's telling her about this damage he found as he was researching the past 2 years about just the bulb and the FDA and seeing what he could find.
I forgot to mention this. Yeah.
In that research, he found pages of the holy text were omitted or even ripped out. And so he is tasking Sister Underbake with figuring out who might have done this and why. So he just wants her to look into that. So all parties then are making their way to Kamada, and the Meatlands duo actually gets there a day earlier than the Queen and company. So the Meatlands duo gets there 2 days before this meeting with the FDA, and the Queen and them get there 1 day before. So in that time before, a couple characters do some things. Amango sneaks out one night and stealths to this old like ramshackle house, and Karna follows her undetected. Amango gets there, goes inside, and is met by this older pomegranate woman, who then leads her to a crib inside where there is a baby wine grape that is said to share the same like flex that Amango has, insinuating that this is her child. Amango picks the baby up and holds it and asks, has anybody else come through here? And the old pomegranate says, no, I've been very careful. And Amango thanks her, and the pomegranate says, I would do anything for your house. And the baby actually throws up on Amango a little bit, and she sets her down and she's like, I promise one day I will be back to take him. And as she leaves, again, Karna had been following her, so she sees her come out and she clocks the little like throw up stain. So Karna is able to put 2 and 2 together, and she actually hires some like local street urchin kids to like keep an eye on that house for her. We then cut to Colin Provolone, who on one of these nights has gone to the docks and basically alerted the shipmaster to arrange 3 different shipments to happen at different times, to give himself essentially 3 escape routes should he need them over the coming couple of days. Basically, just a big crate that presumably he's going to get into and be shipped off somewhere. Also, a pretty funny scene. Um, Delhi during this time says that he sends out missives to different fruitarians that he thinks recognize Meatland's ownership of some of the Dairy Islands territory and basically would be his allies, and just says, hey, if any of you guys are in Kamida, I'm here and, would like to meet with you as Thane of the Meatlands. So then we cut to the night of the actual FDA meeting. And again, if I don't know if I explained this, but FDA, if you're not familiar with that acronym, is the Fellowship of Destiny's Architects, the like Illuminati group. So it's the day of the meeting. The group all comes back together. And Delhi asks Karna, he's like, hey, so it's been 2 years. Have you heard of me now? And she's like, yeah, I have. You've made enemies trying to unite the Meatlands, and, people here respect your vision. And she kind of blushes because she's kind of feeling him, and everyone else in the group picks up on it. They then head to the pyramid just like before, but they do not go down to that same chamber where they were the first time. Instead, they go to a different chamber, and inside are 10 cloaked figures waiting for them. There's a lot of information passed here, and I'm just going to try to cover the important parts of it. But of the things they say, one is, we know what lies beyond the veil of the book, and the truth so many choose not to see. Many bury the truth as heresy, and in so doing march Calorum into the fires of darkness. We will not allow this. A crucial stage in our plot approaches. A dangerous, untenable political operative soon moves incognito from Ceresia, seeking to unravel our carefully engineered stage of our design. It's about 3 days before they will arrive in Uvano, and this cannot happen. Prepare, find a place to ambush, and slay them. Will you do this? Delhi immediately is like, hell yeah, like he's in. But the others are like, well, wait, hold on a second.
Hang on. Yeah.
And so Amon goes like, who is this person that you want us to kill? And the FD head says, we don't know. They're just a foreign operative. And then, like Blake mentioned earlier, the Bishop Rathaniel was trying to say, like, yeah, they brought me back because I'm grandfathered in. So
Yeah.
I forget who says it, but like somebody is like, oh, hey, FDA members, quick question. You chose all of us, right? And they basically just throw Rathaniel under the bus. They're like, yeah, like we chose him. He was one of you. He didn't just get grandfathered in.
I love Brennan being like, you all must be so proud of
He's
yourself.
like, I hope you're happy.
Yeah. Too good.
So that big reveal finally revealed, and they also
sorry, just like a clickbait. Rathaniel's big secret revealed.
Title of this episode.
I'm realizing, by the way, we didn't even. We'll talk about this in the actual discussion, but I forgot to mention his vision, by the way, of like meat or like blood and sinew or something. So just a casual detail that I glossed over. So we'll talk about that later. But anyway, continue.
So the FDA, reveals that the bishop was always part of them, or not, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
they throw a weapon to help our party, and it's revealed to be a water steel dagger that seems to get a big reaction from at least some of the table, which Karna takes. And then they say, leave no witnesses. If you return in success, we might share with you our grand vision. But if you fail, we've got the blackmail and everything on you. But they say, to aid you further, we will send you with another ally. Then from the shadows, another figure steps forth, not masked, not cloaked. It's just a normal person, who is Darren Dishless Quiche, a storied mercenary that Colin Provolone has actually heard of. They all leave together. Dishless is, again, a mercenary. He's just there to help them carry this out. So they all leave together, and Dishless shares the plan. He says, we're going to head out at first light tomorrow, hopefully arrive there a day before our convoy that we need to attack is going to arrive. And there is this bridge that goes over a juice river in a valley, and that'll be a great choke point, a great ambush point. So, Get your stuff together. We will head out tomorrow. Um, before they leave, though, the bishop asks Dishless, "How long have you been working with the FDA?" And he casts Detect Thoughts. And Dishless says that they've been reaching out to me over the years, here and there, and his thoughts during this are just various times he's gotten the little summoning, the letter, and getting paid very well. So the bishop picks up that he's not in this for some grand vision; he's just in this for the money. So the party that night decide to all stay together for safety reasons at a safe house that Karna has procured. So they head that way. But on the way, the bishop is makes a comment about, I understand why Thane Deli is here. I understand why Amon Go is here, and Karna, as a spy master. But Colin, why are you here? Like, he wants to know what Colin's story is and how this seemingly innocuous, bodyguard fits into this. But Colin's not really sharing any information. And they kind of have a sort of intense, like, back and forth.
Mhm.
But it's dropped for now. So they go to the safe house, have dinner, and there's one thing they want to take care of before they're heading out tomorrow, and that is Karna going to see Tomate and delivering the head of Sir Drunon and trying to piece together this potential Lady Amongo marriage to him. So they're talking about what they should do, how should they approach this, and ultimately they decide that Karna should go by herself because Tomate is going to be very guarded, and it might be too conspicuous for all of them to try to go see him. So she's like, okay, and she immediately transforms into the form of Jacques Rudete, her spy master mentor that she took over. She does this in front of everyone, though. And so Deli and Colin, not being aware of that she can do this, kind of freak out. And they're like, whoa, what's going on here? And so Lady Amongo actually does a deception check saying like, oh, she's a miracle worker of the bulb. Like, she has been blessed by the bulb. That's why she can perform this miracle. And she actually rolls a nat 20 on the deception check. So they all buy this for now. So Karna heads out in Jacques' form and heads to the Mason Guild where he's currently like stationed. She's led inside. She meets with him. She immediately pulls out the head of Sir Drunan and is met with praise. But she says, "You know what? This isn't the only gift I bring you. I have
Mhm.
also brought you a queen." And she basically, propositions him with this marriage to Lady Amongo. Tomate like hadn't even been thinking about a queen, and he's like, "Oh." And he seems to be very intrigued by this idea, but he's not ready to like immediately say, "Let's do it." He needs to talk to his advisors first. Karna then says, "Well, I have one more thing, but you must clear the room before I show you this last thing." And he does. Karna then tells him about Amongo's baby, the heir, and that she knows where it is. And that in return for all of this, all she wants is a seat at the table. And Tamate says, okay, well, you know, that she also mentions that her and the queen are going out of town for a few days to handle some stuff. So he says, bring the queen here when you guys return, and we will talk more. Karna then drops her disguise and reveals the truth about herself and Jacques. And Tomate says, well, it looks like a seat at the table is empty then. We then cut to the next morning. Everyone's gathered and is traveling to the ambush point. They arrive about a day or so before the convoy is supposed to arrive, and they begin to make their plans on how to do this ambush. And that is where episode 2 ends. Um,
Woo.
Again, thanks for bearing with us through that one. If you're on just the recap video, our full discussion will be linked down below.